Hi, everyone, and welcome. Special simulcast, the Neil Haley Show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you?
Batman. I'm doing awesome, dude. How are you?
Yes. Yeah, I'm doing great. And I am excited to introduce our guest, Burt Ward, the original Robin from Batman. Burt, how are you? And I know Greg has some really fascinating questions, but it's great to have you back on the show, but finally for video. So good to see you, Burt.
It's great to see you, citizen. I've been doing great. I'll tell you something. We've talked about this before. I believe I was on your show around, was it 2016 or something like that? I remember. And in any event, my wife and I, we operate this rescue, Gentle Giants Rescue, the largest giant breed dog rescue in the world. It's our charity. And we also, we make it's our nonprofit charity, but we also make pet food. We got dogs living to 30 years and cats living to 30 years. We take no money from this. But I wanted to tell you that 2 months ago, I got 3 amazing awards, 2 of them from the President of the United States. I got the President's Volunteer Service Award for 15 years of 15,500 dogs that we've saved over the last 30 years. And I also got the President's Lifetime Achievement Award for having created a special feeding and care program and our food that we have these animals living 30 years or longer. So those are great honors. And then, and this was a surprise, I didn't know about it, and I was invited to a special event. And also there was a representative from the United Nations that I received, both my wife individually, and I received their humanitarian award from the United Nations. So we got 4 awards that, we never tried out for them. We never expected to be awarded anything. We just love animals and want them to live longer and healthier.
All right, good. Greg, with the first question for Burt.
Wow, I have so many questions, but Burt just answered so many of them so quickly. It was amazing. I loved it. But I was going to ask you about the dog stuff, a little bit, just because I love dogs so much. I have 2 dogs. I love them. My passion. If I could set every dog free, I would. It sounds like you're doing that for me, and I thank you so much for that. But how did you land the role on Robin, and what was that like? And just a quick couple minutes on that.
Sure. I was a young actor studying acting at UCLA and studying privately and selling real estate for my father on the weekend. Sold a house to a producer who I was able to convince to watch a scene that I created. And he said, "Hey, you're pretty good. I'll send you to an agent." Agent sent me out for the part. There was only 1,100 other young actors that tried out for the part, which is pretty steep competition. And I ended up with the part. And I did all 120 episodes, 2 Batman movies, and thousands and, probably, I think it's more like 7,000 personal appearances and signed 8.5 million autographs so far in my career.
Yeah, and you saw basically, Burt, that it was just like, it's a game changer, right? Doing a show like that was a game changer to make such a big difference in people's lives now. And then that's where I know your big passion is. And Greg, you're a dog lover. I'm a dog lover as well. And I have a big dog, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But go ahead, Greg, with the next question.
My next question was going to be about how did you get started in this wonderful entrepreneurial venture of dog safety and savings and food and shelter and fundraising.
I'll tell you, what happened is 30 years ago, my wife and I moved to the Inland Empire. It's about an hour east of Los Angeles. We had a 3-year-old daughter, and we decided to get her a large dog. We said, okay, let's get her a Great Dane. And then we heard through research that a lot of Great Danes, in fact, all of the Great Danes that were in animal shelters were being put to death because dog breeds have rescues. There's a Chihuahua rescue, a German Shepherd rescue, and there's a Great Dane rescue. But the person who was operating that had passed away. And now all these beautiful dogs, when someone had to give them up, there was nobody to take them, nobody to rescue them. They went to the shelter, and within a few days, because there's no room in shelters, they're all put to death. So we started taking these Great Danes the first week of August of 1994. You're not going to believe this, but it's real. By the end of August, I had 102 full-size Great Danes in my house and 61 puppies under 7 weeks of age from litters that animal shelters said it's too dangerous, because there's disease in some of the shelters. You got to take this litter. My wife slept on our kitchen floor for 4 months because she would help the mother's nurse and then get that litter out. And then when the mother went outside to use the restroom, the next litter came in. And by the time she finished helping nurse 7 litters, they were ready to start the next 7 again. So and what happened is because these breeds, giant breeds, traditionally have the shortest lifespan. So when we would lose one, 7, 8 years old, it devastated us. And we said, maybe there's a way. If there's anything we could do, we're going to find a way to help them live longer. Well, we found out by the way you feed dogs. Now, remember, I've still today, 30 years later, I've got 50 dogs in my house. This is 30 years, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. There's no holidays off. There's no Christmas off. We feed 600 pounds of gentle giants here every day. But let me explain to you. So what happened was we created a food. When we went to create it, we said, let's get the best ingredients. And we went to pet food companies. Nobody wanted to make the food for us. Oh, those ingredients are too expensive. Oh, that's too, no, we all use the same food. We just, the same kind of ingredients. We just make it under different names. I said, no, we don't want that. And we ended up getting a food. And the reason our dogs and people and by the way, I think we have about 500,000 dogs eating our food every day in the United States, 500,000. And they're eating a food that has no pesticides, no insecticides, no genetically modified organisms in the food. And I must tell you something, the number one killer of dogs and cats in America is cancer. Okay. And they get the cancer from having genetically modified organisms because food is traditionally sprayed, plants that are growing. You see the crop dusters dropping poisons on them. And then, it kills the bugs, but it penetrates the plant. And then your dog or cat eats some of those ingredients and comes down with cancer. So we have all non-GMO ingredients. Took us a year and a half just to be able to locate it because only 2% of the food supply in our country is non-GMO. That includes for humans. In other words, almost everything we eat, unless you get organic and non-GMO, can have pesticides in it. So that was one thing. The other thing is, if you're feeding your dog right now a food, let's say you're feeding a kibble. People say, well, what's so different about your food? I tell them, pick up the few kibbles, rub on your fingers, put those kibbles down and rub your fingers together. You're going to feel a slightly greasy feeling. Okay, and you know what that is? That's animal fat that was sprayed onto the food and filling the food with animal fat because animal fat confuses animals' brains, dogs and cats, to believe they're hungrier than they are, to make them eat more pet food, to make you buy more pet food.
That's crazy.
But you're clogging their arteries and clogging their intestines.
That's a great message.
Oh my God. That's the reason our animals are living longer.
All right. So Greg has the question that hits everyone on the head. This is the question that you have to really pay attention to, Burt. Go ahead with this question. He asked every celebrity this question, and it's amazing the answers we get.
And I can't wait to ask you, Burt. So here we go. Tell me, Burt, what do you feel is the most important thing in life that you've ever learned?
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, I want to tell you the 3 essentials to happiness. Wouldn't you agree that happiness is probably the most valuable thing in life? Certainly your health, but happiness. And here are the 3 essentials to happiness. Someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. Those are the 3 essentials to happiness.
Amen.
I love it. Burt, best place we can find info on you and go. Where can we go, Burt?
Oh, please go to if you have a dog, go to gentlegiantsdogfood.com. If you have a cat, go to gentlegiantscatfood.com. And if you want to go to our store, it's gentlegiantspetproducts.com. Again, we take no salary, but this is all about helping animals live longer. And when the animals live longer, their pet parents can live longer as well.
And congratulations, Burt, on the success entrepreneur-wise since the last time we talked. I can't believe you remember 2016. You have a great memory. I interviewed you about 2 or 3 times for the radio. Now I have a successful television show, #2 celebrity podcast in the world, according to FeedSpot. But I owe a lot to Greg and those kind of questions asked. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Batman.
All right.
Batmobile.
That was a special simulcast. Neil Haley